G'day, I'm going to keep going with these pretty routine updates on the situation. The situation is of parents in Australia who have absolutely no law enforcement of their children's parenting rights, their children's human rights, their children's rights to know both their mother and their father in a meaningful way, unless either of those people have done something to harm them. And of course, as I've tried to explain before, if you're in a situation where your children are being kept from you, many people report wanting to harm themselves, actually, because their quality of life is so totally atrocious. It's quite hard to describe. I'm going to give it a bit more of a crack because I'm going to keep pushing people over to my Lawyers Fund page as well. It's not just my own barrow here. This is actually going to have to, I've realised, it can't be a class action in as much as medical negligence cases are made, but it needs to be broadened out because there are just so many people in this situation, with the main driver being the other adults' desire to not pay child support payments, therefore to lose income of their own, and or vengeance on an ex-partner, and or, inconveniencing themselves by having to fit in with that other ex-partner. So we're now sitting at 5 o'clock on Sunday, the 12th of November, and 2023. And as I've said, I haven't had any meaningful time with my children since Christmas Day, 2022. And as I've said also before, Sundays are the hardest every day is hard and every night is hard, actually. Bedtime is hard. Their bedtime, when you know that they would be going to bed and you'd be tucking them in and kissing them goodnight and all that sort of thing that normal loving parents do. But today is kind of even more particularly hard than usual Sundays, because I went out last night trying to trying to distract myself from this grief, and found yet another parent who I've known I don't know them intimately, but I've known them on an acquaintance basis since 1988, and he is widely reputed as one of the nicest men in music in Sydney. He's a super nice human being, and he really is a lovely guy, and his relationships with people reflect that. And he told me last night that he turned the photos of his children down and put them away yesterday because he hasn't seen his children for 3 years. And that, to me, in this day and age, when we know where people are, even if you don't turn your GPS on your phone, you can ping off your phone will ping off a local tower. They know the general vicinity that you're in, and so we know where people are, and we know kind of how to find them. So if any law enforcement agencies wished to find parents who are stealing their children from the other parent, be they male or female parents, and be they male or female children, it would be pretty easy to do. You've also got bank records and all of that. And the AFP would be pretty quickly across things if you basically told them you were going to put a bomb under their ass or stick one at Sydney Airport. They would be across it like a rash, or like a dog shut up the arse, as the saying goes. So this man and I sat down and had a good long chat, and I was talking to him and listening a lot about the grief and what he does, with his life. And he's at, just to top it all off, this is the kind of calibre and quality of people. He's a care worker. So he's got a lot of checks, police checks and other checks that you need, probity checks that you need to do these jobs, and lots of references for being a caring person. And, again, an entire community has known him for 35 years to be a nice, loving man, and yet he hasn't seen his children for 3 years at all. And so with Christmas approaching, of course, I went down the shops today just to get some groceries, and, they had the Oompa band and Santa and all the kids trailing along, and I'm like, I hate this time of year. I hate it. So, look, I just thought there's been a lot of coverage after the disgraceful and unnecessary remarks, although fascinatingly true. I'll give him that, by Dr. John Collier, who used to be the principal of St Andrew's Cathedral School, where Lily James was murdered by Paul Thyssen. Both of them were employed as sports coaches. She was 21, he was 24. He'd been a previous student there. So Dr. John Collier was speaking from first-hand experience, because he'd had lived experience of this man's behaviour, this young man's behaviour as he was a child, and was a prefect and a fine, upstanding young man. It's always hard to know unless you were there, and even when you are there, it's hard to know. But other word has it around from people who went to school with him that he was arrogant and blah, 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 blah. But I guess at the end of the day, I think the important point that John Collier made is that you really don't know which one will do it, eh? Which one being which man will kill a partner who has had his penis inside her before. That's the way that it should be said. And I really guess I resolved after last night, now that the count is 9 people I know in my immediate circle of 650 associates, so that's being, 1.5% of educated, caring people not seeing their children all for years. And I could see he was broken, but he also had a job and a partner, and also extracurricular activities that he was passionate about. And so I guess that would help somewhat take the edge off. But, really at the end of the day, they're your children. And I return to the idea that people presume you must have done something. And it's like as if adding vast insult to injury, as if it's even more possible at that stage, you then portrayed in people's minds, people just don't believe that you couldn't have done something like, oh, well, clearly they're unhinged, and clearly they presented a danger, and clearly they must have done or said something or threatened something. Or no, just there is no enforcement of the law. And again, I keep saying, you will go to a criminal court in Australia for driving your car, having failed to pay your parking fine after 16 weeks. So people think, oh, well, maybe he or she, the mother or father who's not seeing their children, had mental health issues. This is the extent of mine, in the interests of full transparency. That has the word beta in it because it's a beta blocker. And it is designed, you can see all these nice badges here. That means don't let any children or anyone else anywhere near them because they're restricted and they're dangerous. They stop the action of adrenaline on your heart. Metoprolol tartrate. Metoprolol. 50 milligrams. These don't get doled out lightly anymore either. That's why you got a nice big badge here. And these are sleeping pills, so they will knock you out. And that's it. There's no other drugs to give with major clinical depression that's reactive, because it's caused by something outside of you. It's not an imbalance in your mind. You're not schizophrenic, and you're not bipolar, and you're not psychotic, and you're not hallucinating. You're unfortunately stone cold fine, except that you are not really, are you? Because you're suffering a human rights deprivation. So it's becoming kind of clear to me, to get back to the top, that this needs to be a massive action taken legally in this country, like very, very soon, to put right for parents who've lost their children out of spite and or out of the avoidance, which is the key driver in everyone I've heard's case. The key driver is the other parent doesn't want to have to pay child support or lose the income that they would get from child support by sharing their child. And I've run through in previous videos how those child support agency formulas work. You can look it up on the child support agency website, and I suggest you do. But I guess I can't ask you enough to go over to Instagram, where, again, I've put 1,600, it took me a long time, photos and videos of my adored children's lives with me. And hopefully you'll be able to see a little bit of it. Might just turn it around here. That's me teaching my daughter Madeline to read. That's Madeline asleep on my breast on the train. There's my son, Augie, my beautiful boy. Wrapped him in a cloth and he was asleep on the bed in Clovelly. And that's Augie and I laughing our heads off at Bondi icebergs, and Alice and Augie with my very sick, dying mother at that stage. Alice sleeping, Augie and Alice and I on a holiday up in Byron Bay. Maddie here, the last time I actually ever got to hold her and tuck her into bed at night. And Augie, the very first time he ever went in ocean water, and Alice and Maddie and I, what's left of my cabin out the back of my house down in Tassie, and my beautiful little girl. This is the last time I saw them on my birthday, which is nearly a year ago, 23rd December. And my beautiful, then 16, now 18-year-old daughter, Alice, the great, and boat rides with Matt, and them dancing after swimming and reading and cuddling their teddy bears. And I would urge you to go over and just whenever you want, have a look at the evidence there, because that stuff doesn't lie. It was laughter and fun and education, and then there's academic records to prove it all. And I'm so disgusted in what has been allowed to occur to my children and myself in this country. And I mean, of course, as I said, it's no surprise. Look at what we've done to Aboriginal people who own the country. They legitimately still own it, and we're just broken, stolen off them, stolen their children on top of their land and broken them as well in huge amounts. And I can't believe that anyone could be expected to live like this. I can't believe that's not a fair thing to ask anyone to do. This will be the 5th Christmas I haven't seen them, and that would be enough for me. I find that excruciating. They're so jaded and used to it that they literally don't care anymore. I went to pick up my daughter yesterday in a cab because I was assured by the local magistrate that my family law court orders overrode anything that happened that I'm appealing. And get this, I went into the Downing Centre this week to appeal it, and the goddamn filth didn't have their paperwork in order and have held it over to January. And I said, look, I've got all the paperwork stored in the cloud. I'm sure we can take an adjournment and I can give the missing transcript to the fuzz, the prosecutor, and we can take it from there after a little break because I know what happened. I'm ready to go. And this is the second time they've done this. And because they mucked up, they incorrectly put my children's name on the AVO, that cancelled my WWCC temporarily. They've said that I've got till this week. So I wrote back to them at the end of this week and said, well, you're going to have to extend it till January because, like, the police have cocked up again their paperwork. And they wrote back, no, you've got till this week. And I'm like, well, no, you're saying you want school teachers. Go over to LinkedIn and see what I've done. I wrote the first climate change program in Australia for high school students. I've worked with kids for a lot of my life. I'm good at it according to other people. And there's nothing wrong with saying that. You know, I can teach children well, and I do, and I have, and my own children are the proof of that. And they are saying that they want teachers, but of course, here you go. You've got somebody who has got at least, well, according, if we're going to retire at 67, according to Australian policy, we've got another 15 years of paid work to do in the workforce. And they could have me as a teacher and, you know, God knows how many children I'd educate in that time, but they are going to sell me down the toilet, literally just sink me down the toilet again, like they have my children and me in every other regard. And they being this idiot system at state and federal levels that is completely failing to patrol or enforce family law. So that, yeah, last night was another revelation. Yet another beautiful, brilliant, caring, loving man who hasn't seen his children for 3 years and is wrecked and had to go and take their pictures down because it was getting to Christmas and he can't bear the pain of walking around and seeing the memories of his children. I think that should disturb you. If you can turn the news on at night on the SBS and see the rapacious murder that Israel is committing on Gaza, the disgusting theft by Hamas of Israeli citizens and children first, but also particularly that disgusting piece of shit Putin stealing children off Ukrainian mothers, and you can sit there and get all upset and cry and think, oh my God, how horrific, how can they do that? And yet you have somebody right here in your own country telling you that this is going on with at least 9 adults I know who are of perfectly sound mind but now broken heart. And you can just go, oh. I mean, yeah, the difference is we're not being bombed from the outside. But there's depleted uranium here and here. I think I'll just leave it at that. I really want you to go have a look at the Instagram pictures. I do need lawyers. Everyone's so busy because, of course, as I said the other day, the log jam's on for Christmas. All the parents who are risking yet another 6 weeks. I have had no resolve with the matter of the 4 tickets I purchased to Professor Brian Cox explaining the origins of the universe at the Sydney Opera House on Saturday the 2nd of December in front of the Sydney Symphony Orchestra and photos from the Hubble or the latest spacecraft. I've had no resolve on whether, oh yes, I did get an email, she's trying to impose her will on the children again. And then, after telling me he'd set up an email, especially for me, this is the he being Ian Little, who's keeping my children from me, in down here in Wollongong, he then admitted, like the moron that he is, to not reading my emails, even though he had invented an email for my emails to go to a whole account. He then confessed in writing that he didn't read them and blocked them anyway. So you can't get in through to these people because they don't want to be gotten through to, and that's the entire point. The entire project is parental alienation. It's completely legal. You may as well just pick up and steal someone So if I went down the road and I stole a child, there would be a national manhunt on from me. But on the proviso that it's another parent of the child stealing the child, even though it's against family law court orders, fuck all happens. Nothing happens at all. And that is something that should deeply concern you if you have a working brain cell and a working heart, and definitely a working spine. You need to stand up and say something and do something about this abomination in Australian law. Thanks.